Hello, this is Jack Callow with The Exchange. Today, this evening, we do have a rather special guest, one who's been making waves across Los Santos with their campaign against the death penalty. So if you could, can you please introduce yourself for the audience at home?
Hi there. My name is Krystal Veglione. Some people call me Crimble. Other people call me Chef because I'm the author of the cookbook series Anybody Can Cook, or I mean anyone can cook. As for my career-wise, though, I run a Novel Idea, which is a bookshop here in town, and I might be starting up cooking classes soon. I just need to get some things squared away with Dockle for that.
Oh, it's wonderful to hear that you're willing to teach people how to cook because let me tell you, a lot of people don't know how to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Recently, you have been garnering a lot of attention for your recent campaign against the death penalty. Now, can you tell us exactly what your petition is about?
Yeah, for sure. Our primary goal is to just abolish the death penalty. We're not happy with how it's implemented in the state. We're not happy with the legislation that's written around it. But overall, if we're not able to get it abolished, like our main goal, we'd love major reform for the bills surrounding the death penalty.
Now, is there a particular reason why you're so against the death penalty? Because this isn't the first time it's come up in debate. Like, a lot of people are either against or for it. Some people think some people deserve to die, some people think it could be reformed. But until now, we haven't really seen anyone be as vocal about it as you are.
Mhm. So I'm personally against it because it feels like it's primarily used as a means for revenge. EMS, police, or government officials were involved in all of the death sentences that have been carried out except for one. That's one reason. My other reason is that I don't like how the death penalty dehumanizes people. Yes, they've committed heinous crimes in some cases, but that doesn't make them any less a person. Besides, literally every person in this state has their own skeletons in the closet. If everybody else gets the chance for redemption, I feel like they should have that available to them too.
Of course. And do you feel your campaign has drawn attention from people who normally wouldn't pay attention to topics of this nature?
I think so. Granted, some of the attention hasn't been positive. Like the other day, we were protesting outside the governor's inauguration, and we were approached by some people who told us we're not allowed to have an opinion on the death penalty because we've never been on death row. Um, but we've also met plenty of people that didn't even know there was a death penalty in the state. They didn't know it was done by firing squad either. And the day we discovered it was done by musket fire, we ended up getting like 10 more signatures on the petition. So I believe we are drawing some attention, both good and bad.
I mean, attention is good regardless. It's a really hot topic issue. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even from back in the day when fertilizer was first executed by the state, it was muskets.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember about the man called Fertilizer. That's a whole different story for a whole different time, though. Now, there are a lot of people, though, who are still on the fence. People haven't decided they're for or against. Is there anything you want to say to those people in particular?
Admittedly, everyone I've spoken to has been pretty decisive about how they feel about the death penalty. If there is anybody on the fence, though, if you can't decide whether you're for or against it, at least for the very least, strive for the reform. Um, the way we do things now is really archaic and barbaric, and things need to change. They should change.
That being said, do you feel that maybe prosecutors are being a bit too hasty in their approach when it comes to the Alsbrook case?
Absolutely. You can go ahead and stop me if I talk too much about this.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
uh, Recently I've updated the website with the petition. And I read through every single death penalty case that I could get my hands on, and I read through all of the evidence. I read through the entire case and all of the evidence for the Ellsbrook case too. The evidence as it stands against the skin, sorry, little tongue tied. The evidence as it stands is that there's a bias against Skinners, a tattoo that many people have in the state, including multiples of the Skinners, and DNA. It took place in the woods where Mr. Albrook's lives. So who's to say the DNA wasn't left there earlier in the day, for example? The shooting that took place involved multiple people, and other unidentified DNA samples were picked up from the scene. They still haven't been identified. And Mr. Jebediah Ellsbrook is the only one receiving punishment. Um, and after reading the statement from the officer who survived the shooting, the death penalty definitely feels more like revenge over being a punishment. I've also seen that he's been following all of the stipulations of his bail to this point, which shows a clear sign of wanting to redeem oneself, even if he did it or not. And on top of everything, there's an arraignment that just took place the other day with a much, much more gruesome and violent crime where the person beheaded 2 people, and the judge deemed the highest penalty she could receive is 14 years and a $15,000 fine.
For beheading 2 people.
For beheading 2 people. Granted, if Jebediah did do the crime, he potentially shot 2 cops and 1 died.
Correct.
That's unfortunate. I do feel for the woman who lost her fiance, and I feel for the officers who lost their brother in the law. But it was a single life and a much less gruesome crime, and he potentially wasn't even the one to pull the trigger, right? This woman beheaded 2 people, seemed to brag about it in her statements, and got 14 years.
That does seem a bit weird. Now, do we know these people she beheaded? I'm kind of wondering if they're cops or not.
They weren't. One was a John Doe, weren't able to identify him. The other was a regular civilian. Let me pull that up real quick. His name was Jonathan Kirkbride.
Jonathan Kirkbride?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a name we shouldn't forget then.
Yes.
And if there's any prosecutors listening... Oh, sorry, were you going to continue?
I was just going to say, if Mr. Ellsbrook did commit the crime, he does deserve punishment, but I really don't think it's death. I don't think it should be death.
And if any, prosecutors happen to be listening to right now, because I do know some of them do listen to the show, which I'm very grateful for, by the way. Do you have something you want to tell them?
Don't think of it as getting revenge. The death penalty is something heavy and shouldn't be taken lightly. Every case that I've read through has been a means of revenge, it feels like, except for the most recent case of Doug. But also, don't jump to the death penalty if it seems the person needs help mentally. One of the most heartbreaking cases that I did read through was Doug's. He did murder multiple people, but he was also trying to get help throughout his entire, time that he was, before he got arrested. During his arrest, he kept asking for help. He reached out to DHS. There was proof of that. He reached out to Pillbox for therapy. There's proof of that. And he did not receive the help that he so needed. And during his appeal, the judge on the appeal stated that it doesn't matter that he already tried. He already had his chance to get help. We're going forward with the death penalty. That's paraphrasing, because I don't have the document in front of me right now. But try to remember that the person is a human and that sometimes they need help. And that if it's revenge, don't do it. If the person definitely needs help, get them the goddamn help they need.
You know what's funny? Well, not funny, kind of sad given the circumstances. A long time ago, well, not too long, a couple of months, there was a governor by the name of Richard Starr, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me and him actually had a plan. We were gonna build a separate wing to the prison. I was gonna pay for it out of pocket, where people who were violent but needed help mentally to reform would be able to get that help. The plan was ultimately shot down. A lot of concerns over solitary confinement. I'm not going to say who shut it down. That'd be rude.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, have you spoken to any state reps or even the executive branch about this?
I have. I've spoken with 3 people so far. I spoke with Maxine when she was still a representative, and I've spoken to Governor Damian. Maxine responded super positively. She even offered to help write legislature for our campaign. She's still going to work on writing it for us, even though she's no longer a rep, but we're just going to present it to our current state rep to see what we can do with it. As for Damien, he agrees that we definitely need to reform how the death penalty is carried out. He does not agree with abolishing it completely, Um, but he definitely thinks that the act of using muskets is archaic and we need to get rid of that at least. Um, Recently, I've started speaking with Joanna Poole. We're going to be meeting soon. We're trying to schedule an appointment to meet and discuss things. And I've even reached out to multiple judges and members of the DOJ. Unfortunately, only one person has replied. I won't say the name because some people might criticize the fact of how he responded to me. He was honest about not wanting to discuss it because he wants to go into the Allsborough case with a clear mind. And honestly, I can respect that. I don't want to create any sort of bias.
No, that's absolutely understandable. But the death penalty itself and its administration, I am reminded, and I think I shared this with you before as well, I've shared it with everyone, about a specific quote by Jacob Geller.
Mhm.
The modern history of execution demonstrates which aspects of criminal justice our institutions are interested in involving and which barbaric elements the system preserves. It's very hard, I feel, to recreate the death penalty when we don't know the most humane way of doing it.
Yeah, that is valid. It's one of the reasons why I would prefer to just get rid of it.
Exactly, because I don't think there is a humane way to kill somebody.
That kind of goes back to my point where the death penalty kind of just dehumanizes the person.
Yeah, and it's important that we remember that these people are human.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The minute we take away that part of them, that aspect, we forget that we're capable of the same things.
Yeah. I'm not going to name names, but the other day I was speaking with somebody who is now a government employee. And apparently they used to be a little bit of a criminal, but they redeemed themselves. And they said to me after they signed the petition, who hasn't burned down a house or two in this town?
Oh boy. That's a hell of a statement. What?
Right? So they are a person just as much as a person is on death row. Like I said, they've done heinous crimes potentially, but that doesn't make them less of a person. And maybe they just need help and they can be redeemed. Anyone has the chance for redemption, in my opinion.
No, of course. That being said, though, there are some people out there who would disagree, especially when it comes to certain names like Driftwood, for instance.
That's actually a name that I don't recognize.
It's a name that you will. It has a lot of history. There's a lot of people out there who just internally cringed at the name Driftwood who are listening.
Gotcha.
That being said, is there any parting words you have for people who might be listening to us?
Well, I do want to thank my friends, Sam, Aaron, and Morgan. Oh, and Sarah. They helped me get all this started, and they've been helping me as I've been going along and trying to gather signatures for the petition. I really don't think I could have done it without them, because sometimes it gets kind of disheartening when people come at you negatively, if that makes sense.
It does.
And I also want to say thank you to everybody who has signed the petition up till now. Some people don't want to be on the website, and I've respected that. You can see all the signatures that have come through on our website, and you'll see like some people are listed as redacted. So those are the ones that want to remain anonymous. And I want to thank every one of you. You know who you are, and I appreciate everybody who does want to make a change, be it by abolishing it or reforming it.
That being said, always the last part of the interview, and I love doing this little part here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is there anyone you specifically want to call out? Not necessarily call out in a bad way, but maybe have them do a similar interview to you or actually make a statement.
Oh, there was a person the other day that actually wanted to meet with a reporter in regards to being for the death penalty, and I think that might be interesting. Let me see if I can find their name. They added me the other day.
Would that be Pepper McGrath?
Yes.
It wouldn't hurt to have Pepper McGrath on the show, honestly. I think it'd be a really good show. I still am trying to figure out how I can do a debate.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, and keep it civil. That's the part that's going to be difficult, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, the main thing is like I'm not gonna argue with anybody about this on Twitter because I know that Twitter arguments. I mean, Yeeter. Sorry, it changed to Yeeter a
That's
while
okay.
ago. I don't want to argue about it on Yeeter or that sort of platform because I know it can get heated, and I want it to remain respectful, and I want it to remain like an open and honest discussion because that's what I want it to be. I want people to learn. I want it to be a discussion. I don't want to like force the information on down people's throats, which is why on the website you have to click learn more to actually learn more about the death penalty.
No, of course. And the exchange has always been a show about people's opinion,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully in a nice civil manner. In fact, my first guest was actually the first governor of the state,
Oh wow.
Mr. McKinley. He was amazing. You would have loved meeting him, by the way. That being said, I'm sorry, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say I do think he sounds like an interesting person. I think I would have liked meeting him.
He was one of the best governors we ever had, hands down. Like, my top governors are always going to be him, Richard Starr, Paxton. Mostly Richard, because we were trying to do a lot of things.
It sounds like it.
He was a good man. It's a shame how he went out.
Yeah, I learned about that too. It really is unfortunate.
That being said, this has been Jack Callow. This has been my wonderful guest, Krystal. I hope everyone out there has a good evening, and you take care of yourselves and everyone around you. Good night.